Good morning, dear students. Today we will be talking about the poem How to Tell Wild Animals. Now, wild animals. Now the poetess, wild is saying such a way how to tell the wild animals. What is the point in this poem that we learn? Now, let us see what are the objectives of this poem. What do we learn from this poem? Because every poem carries some message. And today we are going to see. So, we will see in the first slide the objectives. So, the objectives are here very clear. You can see the objective to enjoy reading the poem. The first thing is that when we read a poem, we normally enjoy it. And the second objective is to enrich the vocabulary too, because in every poem there are a number of rich vocabulary is used by a poet or a poetess. And the third thing is to know definitely about the animals, the wild animals, what are the natures. And the fourth one is to know the features of the wild animals. How do they look? So, what are the features of different animals? So, these are the objectives that we are going to learn from this poem. So, let's go to the next slide and see now what is talking about. Before we get into the real poem, I have in the outset got the meanings of the words which are very difficult, or the poetess has used those words. We have got the first tawny beast. So what is the meaning of tawny beast? Tawny beast is a brownish yellow. So the color brownish yellow. And also I have used that word in a sentence. The second word is a rose. Usually the wild animals would roar. The lion and the tiger would roar. So rose means gives out a loud sound. And the next slide we'll see the meaning of other words that are used. Discern. Discern means, I have put it as see, but it's not just to see, it is beyond see. Discern means to know what is good and right, to know what is hidden in that. That's why the picture you can see, the magnifying glass is being put. So that magnifying glass is able to see what is not visible. And the fourth one is strolling. Strolling means slowly wandering. So the poet has used the word strolling, wandering, a brisk walking of the animals. Sometimes they walk very slowly, the animals, when they are preying on the weak animals. And the fifth one is novice. Novice may be a new word for you. Novice is a beginner, a person who begins something, or a person who does not know anything. He comes to, for example, a teacher joins a job, gets newly appointed. He may be a novice to the teaching line, or a person who wants to become a monk. When he comes as a student, he joins the training and the formation, he is known as a novice. And that is a different words used in this poem, my dear students. We go to the next slide and see what we are going to. Now we come to the central theme of the poem. What is the poem talking about? So we will see. Now the poem is talking about the poem How to Tell Wild Animals, like caroling birds, is something revolving around the dangerous ways to identify the animals. As we know, animals are dangerous because it's not very pleasant to go to the animals and talk to them, because they are different species, though they belong to the animal kingdom. We also belong to but we are rational animals. So it's dangerous to go to the animals and interact with them. We need to keep away from the animals. If we go close, we know what would happen. That's what she is trying to explain, identify the animals, how dangerous they are. So the poet tries to distinguish one animal from the other. Okay, what are the different features of animal? How do they look? How do they attack? How do they prey? So each animal is distinctually she is just explained, and it's very risky to go close to the animals. The proximity with animals is most dangerous. We can't be with animals, especially the wild animals. And that is the theme of the poetess. She is trying to tell us the same thing. So what could be the reason of these animals going to them? So it is an educative purpose for us, so that we are able to learn how dangerous they are. Now we go to the next slide and see each stanza how they describe. The first stanza we talk about, if you should go by chance the jungles in the east. It's talking about the east jungle, the forest in the east, how it is dangerous to go. And in the jungle they are known as the Asian lion. In the eastern forest, the Asian lions are found. They are most dangerous to go to them. If they want to eat up, then we can identify the Asian lion. Okay, they are the last tawny beast. If it rolls as they are dying, if you see that somebody is dying, and you identify, it could be only the Asian lion, my dear students. And we see the words again being explained as I gave it in the beginning. You can also go through these words again. We go to the next stanza and see what is being explained in the next stanza. We go to the next slide and see. So in the next slide, we see the Bengal tiger, how it is being explained. Okay, they have the strips with the yellow, and you can identify them with the strips on the body. Okay, and that is, the poet says, it is very likely that while roaming in the jungle, in the forest, you are greeted by a wild beast, and that is the Bengal tiger. It has a majestic body, and it's with the strips around. Okay, they are with a yellow, covered with a yellow color, and that is the features of the Bengal tiger. The poet also cautions the readers how he notices this beast, and that is eats them, and then the simple rule will teach you that it is a Bengal tiger. So first we have seen the Asian lion, how you need to identify them, and the second we also talked about the Bengal tiger, how dangerous they are. They are covered with a yellow coat and with the strips on the body. And the third stanza we go and see what is we talk about. In the third stanza we see it is the leopard. The leopard is being explained in this third stanza. If strolling forth a beast you weave, whose hide spots of pepper. You see, as soon as you see leopard, you see in the body you have got a scattered peppered line. That means the dots are separated. They are just thrown on the body. So that is a leopard. And what is the danger of a leopard? So the poet here helps the readers to identify leopard. He says, if you happen to walk in the forest, you may encounter a beast with the spots on his skin. If you encounter an animal with the spots on the skin, it is definitely understood as going to be the leopard. And to be with the leopard, it's not something pleasant for you or pleasant for us. It can be very dangerous. And that's why, moreover, it will be of no use than to shout or cry with pain once you are caught in with a leopard. That would be the end of our lives. That is, the poet is trying to tell us. So how they are dangerous. We go to the next slide, the fourth stanza, and see what does it talk about. The fourth stanza, we hear about the creature, the animal, the bear. Okay, here the author is telling us a very humorous way of putting it. The bear will hug you and caress you. That's something very funny way is explained. Do you think that bear is going to hug you? And if it hugs, we know what could be the outcome, the consequence, that it would end of our life. It will finish you off. That's why very humorously the author is putting in a very humorous way. As we saw in the objective of this poem, we saw this poem also meant to entertain us, to read it in a humorous way. He's explaining in a humorous way. And that's why it says, if you are walking around your yard, you meet a creature there who hugs you very, very hard. And it's going to be a bear. But my dear students, it's not going to be so pleasant to hug. We may hug a teddy bear. We may like to hug a teddy bear. It's just a dog. It's not the real thing. But when you hug the real bear, we know the consequences will be nowhere. So that is a fourth stanza is explaining that it is the bear who hugs you, and then we can identify it's a bear. The next slide we see the fifth stanza. What does it talk about? The fifth stanza talks about hyena and crocodiles. Though to distinguish beast of prey, a novice might not plus the crocodile you always be. Tell them the hyena does. Hyenas come with a merry smiles. The poet is telling the hyenas would come like merry smiles. Can we imagine? Most of the time, as students or small kids, we don't understand, we don't differentiate between the animals. Some animals look the same, correct? But we are unable to differentiate as we grow older or mature, so we come to know the different animals. Here, the poet here says that novice may be puzzled or confused. Most of the time we get confused to identify the animals. If you are well versed, we know or we have more experience visiting the zoos or studying, then we may identify. But most of us, as a novice, as a beginners, we may not know the animals, confused, and thus might be able to distinguish between a different wild animals, my dear student. Hence, the poet helps to differentiate the crocodile from the hyena. Here he is comparing two things: how to identify crocodile and a hyena. So the hyena would give a laugh or smile, but that is not a friendly smile. It is for devouring, eating you up. It will kill you off. And a laughing hyena's voice resembles human laughing sound. Sometimes he is very humorously explaining us. It may not be the same, but he is telling it may look like a human sound, laughing, but that's more dangerous. A crocodile, on the other hand, is said to shed tears while eating its prey, as if like a human being crying. But when eating, you see the contradiction. The poet is very humorous way of saying it. Okay, so when it eats you up, or when it is praying, it's like the tears are coming as if crying. Okay, but it may be a happy tears because they're enjoying the prey. That's the reason. The poet thus warns the readers not to wait for hyena to laugh or for a crocodile to weep. Oh, my dear students, not to wait for the smile of a hyena or to wait for the cry of a crocodile. They may be more dangerous. So, my dear students, we go to the last slide and see what is the last stanza talks about. So, the sixth stanza talks about a chameleon. A chameleon, we know the nature of a chameleon is such. We can't even identify sometimes. If you go to the villages and see on the tree, it's a natural instinct of every creature to protect themselves. So if you see a chameleon, within a short time, you may not be able to see what is the reason. The chameleon may be there. We will not be able to identify. That is a gift of God to every creature. It changes its color within the situation. Suppose the tree color is a particular color, so the chameleon would change into that tree color, so that nobody would be able to identify easily. That is just to protect itself. That's why the poet describes a chameleon in the stanza. He says, chameleon is a small, it's a garden lizard, we see. It doesn't have ears or wings. The poet further says that if you are unable to see a thing on a tree, if you are unable to see a thing on a tree, it is sure it's a chameleon, because not able to see, because it camouflages its color. We can see the camouflage with the army personnels. Okay, when they are going to attack people, what they do, they camouflage their dress according to the place where they are. In a mountain, they would, with the mud color, they will camouflage their dress, or in a forest with a green like a tree or a plant, so the color would be of that, so they are not seen easily. That is, the chameleon would camouflage according to the particular color where it is situated. It changes color as per its surroundings, and very difficult to see. The surrounding color it will change and not able to see. This capacity of camouflage helps the lizard saving from hunters. So that is the nature of a chameleon. So my dear students, this poem is just talking about the 4 objectives I gave: to learn the animals and the features, and also with a humorous way. So it's meant to increase the humor in the students while you read. Not only read, to identify the animals. A simple poem put in a beautiful way to enjoy, how the children would enjoy reading it and learn the animals with a humor, with a wit. And that is the purpose of this poem. We go to the next and see the few literary devices used in this poem also. In this, we have got poetic devices used in the poem. Poetic device is a license given to the poets. They would change the words. They would alter the words, which may not be the real word, according to the sound, okay, the rhythm. So the poet has a license to, that is a poetic device used in the poem. The T is used, is the chameleon you see. Actually supposed to be it, but only the word T is used. That's what we see. Again, there we have got lit instead of left. So these are the poetic devices the poet uses in this poem. In the next slide, we also see how the alliteration is, the figures of speech is used in the next slide. Alliteration. So roaming round, lap and lap, hugs hard, novice nonplus. These are the repetitions. You know, already we have learned about figures of speech where the repetition is used. Okay, so that is the alliteration used in this poem. So we come to the end of this poem, my dear students. This is a beautiful poem with a simple message of how to identify animals, the danger of animal, at the same time with a humor as the poet has created. And with that, we come to the end of this poem and say, so I thank everyone, my dear students. I will be giving the homework the next day, so you can go through the homeworks and complete the work. Thank you, one and all. Have a nice day. Okay.